My friends, Ryzen 3000 is coming fast. Everybody's excited for it, and everybody's excited for X570. But that doesn't mean you have to forget about what the old generation was. In fact, we did an entire video talking about, is it worth picking up Ryzen 2000 over Ryzen 3000? But today's video is about motherboards. In fact, it's about specifically one motherboard, and that's because ASRock has sponsored this video to ask us to take a look at the X470 Gaming-ITX AC Fatal1ty board in their Fatal1ty gaming lineup. So this is a sponsored video. ASRock has paid us to talk about this board. Just so everybody knows, Hardware Unboxed just did a video talking about like non-disclosed paid reviews. This is not it. We got paid. I'm talking about the good stuff. This board's amazing. Anyways, with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the board. Let's talk about the board because it actually is a pretty decent ITX board, and as we've mentioned in other videos, X470 isn't really disappearing when X570 comes. It's just being knocked down a tier. B550 isn't on the cards for a while, so X470, B450, and then X570 are all going to be the ranges that we're going to have. So the X470 Fatal1ty motherboard from ASRock still is worth taking a look at, especially when we paired it with the Ryzen 7 2700X. We decided to go all out on this thing. We wanted to make sure that we could push this thing to its limits. So we slapped it in this little case over here, or little case, I mean giant case. It looked hilarious in there, but that with a Radeon 7 with a liquid cooler, obviously we tried to get the best clocks that we could out of our 2700X, and I'm happy to report that after a little bit of tweaking, we were able to get the best overclock on the 2700X as we could on any other motherboard. We've got 4.1 gigahertz across all cores running at 1.425 volts with the 16 gigs Trident Z Royal RAM running at 3200 megahertz, which is plenty. That's basically all you can get out of Ryzen at this point with the 2000 series. So I'm actually fairly confident that with the current design of this motherboard that you would actually still be able to support Ryzen 3000 no problem, especially since the latest BIOS that's available for this board already has support for those CPUs, so you can install them when those come out. But with its double 3-phase VRM setup, it's actually doing a pretty good job and is roughly what you would expect from an ITX board at this point. So performance from this thing is not a concern at all. I'm totally confident that once we get a Ryzen 3000 chips, I would be okay with putting a 3700X in this, and we'll have to see what the overclocking is like when those come out. But for the 2700X, 4.1 gigahertz, not even a problem. We obviously had the cooler, the 240 mil, that kept the CPU cool, but the VRMs were totally fine. You've got this small little VRM heatsink right there. The SoC VRM isn't cooled at this point, but as I mentioned, SoC VRM, it actually has support for display out if you wanted to use an APU on this, such as the 2400G. You've got a DisplayPort 1.2 and an HDMI. And while we're on the I/O, you got two USB 2s, a PS2, two USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports, both capable of 10 gigabits per second, Type A, Type C, two 3.1 Gen 1 ports, a gigabit LAN, and then you got the audio, the Nikon audio right here. It has gold-plated connectors right there. You obviously have your optical out as well. And then this, my friends, this is the most impressive piece on the board. This is where ASRock pulled no punches and made it the best setup that they possibly could, and that's the Wi-Fi that's on this thing. And not just the Wi-Fi, but the wireless connectivity. So this is a 2 transmit, 2 receive, 1733 megabit per second Wi-Fi setup on this board. Better than any other ITX X470 board on the market, bar none. On top of that, it also has Bluetooth 5.0 support, which is better than the 4.2 that I've seen on other boards, which is double the amount of range, double the amount of throughput, half the power consumption. Bluetooth 5.0 is actually where you want to be, and ASRock has chosen to include it on their board. And if we go just a little lower, they haven't skimped on the PCI Express slot either. That is reinforced PCI Express slot, so even if you're putting something like a Radeon 7 in here in a mini ITX system, how many people are going to do that? Me. Anyways, it's there for you if you actually need it. It has 4 SATA 3 ports right there, and then it has up to 3 fan ports, 1 for the CPU fan, 2 chassis fans right there, and then right there. On top of that, you can actually have 2 different RGB connections with Polychrome Sync. They have a normal, just RGB connection there, and then a digital or addressable RGB connection right there. So whether you're using a stock 2700X cooler or you also want to connect, let's say, a Castle 240's RGB hookup, you can do that right there, no problem. One of the things that I appreciate most about this board is the fact that it's just a matte black design, and it has a 2-ounce copper PCB, but they've finished it so that it looks really good. Obviously, as you can see here, the M.2 slot is on the back. There is only one NVMe slot on the back of the board, but with the 2 terabyte NVMe drive, you're not really going to be adding that much more. Then, if we take a look at what's in the box, we did an unboxing. It comes with the Wi-Fi antenna. It's a little atypical design from what I would think. The wires are plenty long. That's probably, what, 1.5 meters right there? I have a giant arm. And then it also has the included I/O shield as well as a couple SATA cables. Nothing too big, but also an M.2 screw for the back of the board. And if you're curious about RAM support, it can go up to 3,466, officially supported by the board. Obviously, you can see what you can get overclocking a little bit higher. Our Trident Z Royals, 3,200 megahertz rated. We didn't try to push it past that, but you can do it if you so desire. But the best thing about this is not only the fact that you get the best Wi-Fi on the market, you actually have plenty of support for 2700X overclocking with dual channel RAM. You also get a good price. My friends, this thing is coming in at $160 in the US, and compared to other X470 boards that are mini ITX out on the market right now, that is a fantastic price. Obviously, pricing can shift around when it comes to, you know, X570 being released, but I'm sure it will be priced appropriately. ASRock has put this thing in a really good place. The performance is there. It's pretty solid for me. Everything I tried to do on this board, I could definitely do. I didn't feel like I was hindered by the fact that I was on an ITX board over, say, a normal ATX board. Obviously, I tested it in a giant case, but I also only had enough fan connections to connect to 240. Like, there was no airflow in there. So it was actually not the greatest solution, but it worked out pretty well. And it's a perfect board. Let's say you want to not go with the 8-core. Getting a Ryzen 5 2600 or 3600, you can put that in here. It'll have plenty of support for that. You can have a mid-tier, just kind of AMD system. You plug freaking Navi 3700 XT into this thing, and bam, you can put this in a pretty powerful mini ITX system. And I mean, we're gonna be using this in a mini ITX project coming up, so be sure to keep your eyes out for that video in the near future. We'll keep you updated when that's coming out. But that's the end of this overview of the ASRock X470 Gaming-ITX AC Fatal1ty board. We really appreciate them sending it over and for sponsoring this video, asking us to check it out. We had a great amount of fun playing with this board. It works exceptionally well. I'm excited for it, especially what we're gonna do with it in the future. I was supposed to clean off the CPU. I'm now realizing at the end of the video that I never wiped off the 2700X. Fantastic. Anyways, let me know what you think of the ASRock Fatal1ty board. Let me know what you think of ITX in general. Let me know what you think of anything that has to do with X470 motherboards and the like down below in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. You just watched a sponsored video by ASRock. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see your smile face again in the next video. Love you too. Bye.